Hi, my name's Anna Daniels and I'm the CEO of Involved Investors. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Kevin Smith. Kevin is a mentor and advisor of early stage businesses. And I would love for Kevin, for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Hi. Well, as you know, Anna, but for everyone else, I'm a business mentor, but I started life working as a credit analyst, working for banks. So I've got a good understanding of numbers and spreadsheets and how all of that worked. And then I jumped into business development and have been doing business development ever since. But I set up a business and finance consultancy pretty much 35 years ago, and been helping early stage businesses from startups through to mid-sized corporates to develop and grow in all aspects. But I guess primarily strategy and finance related, but really in all aspects.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kevin. So you and I have worked together on quite a few businesses over the last year. And I guess it would be really interesting if you were able to share some of the real ways that you tend to get involved with businesses at their early stage.
Yeah, well, so many businesses come to me feeling that they've got, I guess, a unique problem, and yet so many of those problems are the same. So it's everything from, is it difficult to set up a limited company, all the way through, well, everything really. But so many of them are focused around raising finance in one way or another. So it's getting investment ready in the first place, but it's that whole part around pitch decks and business plans and deciding how much to look to raise, whether they need to raise in the first place, but then how much they should be looking to raise, and indeed where from, and what actually suits them, because what's right for one business isn't right for another business. So I guess most of the activity is on that, but it can be anything from helping companies to establish their SEIS, CIS, through to looking at advisory boards and really every aspect of growing their business.
Thank you. So if I introduced you to a company today, what could they expect from you, Kevin? What's the first step that you tend to take with them?
Well, I'm always very happy to sit down, have an hour or so chat with anybody, get to understand their business, and always very happy just to give them my thoughts, my comments, my advice as I see it where their business is now. And if that's all they need, then that's fine. But most of the time, they will understand that there's so much more there and needs to happen. And so when I start to have that good understanding of their business, I can see as an outsider and with my experience and my grey hairs that sort of what needs to be done and how they need to be going about it. And so often when you're in a business, you've got that old phrase, they're working in the business and not on the business. It's difficult to take that step back and sort of, I guess you're constantly firefighting rather than looking at what you should be doing and having a proper focus on things and having that sort of focus to be able to look at things over a longer term perspective rather than just having to do what you've got to do today. And so I can help them understand that and look at all of the steps and what they should be doing in the right way. And for me, so often that focus is again around finance, where people say, oh, we need to raise money, and by the way, we need it next month. And that's such a typical conversation. And we all know that it takes a lot more than a month. Unless you're very, very lucky, typically it's 6 months or so to look to raise finance.
2020 has brought about changes to businesses in a way we never thought we would ever have to be confronting. And I'd love to know your thoughts and ideas on what and how founders should be approaching this time.
I mean, it's been a very interesting year, and obviously interesting good for some, interesting bad for many more. But it's been an extremely useful year, because we all know that we learn more in tough times or from our mistakes than we do when things are good or when things go right, because we analyze it more, we look at things more, we have to be more proactive in our thinking and faster on our feet. And this year, there's been a number of key lessons, I think, that we should be drawing. One is in communications. It's not quite so true for a complete startup, but you've seen all of the better established firms, even later stage startups, if I can put it that way, changing their communication. It's come back to much more about working with clients and making those clients important and unique, rather than just hard sell of product. But it's also much more about looking at pivoting businesses, adapting their business. And some companies have obviously been extremely unlucky in what their business sector is, but even those, it's the ones that have survived are those that have been fast on their feet and actually pivoted and changed. And I forget the exact numbers, but the Financial Times ran something back in April, I think it was, so midway through that first lockdown, that said over 40% of SMEs had pivoted in some meaningful way. And of those, 21% were now more profitable than they ever had been in the past. And it just shows that it forces you, difficult times force you into doing something and looking at something in a different way. So, it's easy to be down and it's easy to look at the negative things, but actually sometimes you should be looking at where the opportunities are. And this whole situation has thrown up so many more opportunities, or I guess thrown that pack of cards up in the air, and things are settling in a different way than they ever would have been in the past. So don't focus on the negatives, but focus on the positives and look at those new areas that have come up, or what you should be doing newer or better or faster than maybe we all would have been in if 2020 was a normal year.
Thank you. Kevin, I'm interested to know your thoughts on why most startups fail, and your advice as to how a startup can ensure that they are not one of those.
Well, I guess that there's a whole lot of basic steps that any business should be doing. So first of all, it's research. Research the market properly. Make sure there is a real space for your product. You've got something special. So is it the product that people actually want rather than what you want to sell them? Are you trying to sell it at the right price? And can you actually deliver it at that price? So is it profitable? There's, again, so many sayings, but turnover is vanity and profit is sanity. But one of the things I wrote earlier on in this year was cash flow is reality. And certainly this year, that is absolutely where we need to be focusing. So businesses fail because they fail to prepare, fail to do a proper business plan and understand their market and their competitors, and whether they can actually deliver the price, the product at that price. They fail because they haven't got a proper understanding of the financial necessities behind that. They fail because they don't have enough financing in order to carry that out. But they also fail because they often don't have the right people or the right support around them. And however good any of us are, we're not good at everything, and we don't have the time to be good at everything. So it's all about getting those right people around you, whether that's a co-founder or a great core team, or whether it's simply good advisors or accountants or lawyers. But one of the conversations we are constantly having is about advisory boards. A good advisory board, I would say, is crucial in terms of raising finance, but it's also crucial in terms of helping you to keep you honest, look at what you're meant to be doing with your business, and are you doing it properly and not going off on a tangent? Because again, so many businesses try to do too much too early, and they simply don't have those resources to do it. And entrepreneurs need to be enthusiastic, but it's too easy to be too enthusiastic about too many things. So keep focused, make sure that you've got profitability and cash flow, and actually make sure that you've got the finances in place to do all of that. And getting those finances needs all that proper planning and all that proper research.
Very sound advice. I always think one of the interesting things in business is that it takes the many years, the grey hairs, the problems to actually understand the importance of having the right people around you on the team, the right expertise and the right knowledge. And I feel very happy that we are now able to surround ourselves with these experts that can give the right help and advice to founders. But I recall in my days of starting a business how worrying this is, because this can be a big expense. And so I guess I'm asking, if somebody was to speak with you, Kevin, how would you look to work with them? And how could they start to develop that relationship at a time when cash is very poor?
Yeah, well, we recognise that starting a business is difficult, and as you say, cash is often one of the biggest difficulties. And so many decisions are easy if you've got the cash, and difficult if they're not. So we actually, as I've said earlier on, very happy to have an initial free conversation with anybody, point them in the right direction, and maybe they'll just go away and take that advice, and good luck to them. But so often it needs much more than that. And they might come back and want us to work with them for an hour or a few hours as a one-off, or maybe on some sort of retainer basis. And again, that can be a few hours a month or a couple of days a month. Or we can work on specific problems they may have, like a difficult minority shareholder and what's a solution for that, or any multitude of different things. But more and more we get asked to work much more closely with them on the advisory board. And that means they get access to, if you like, all of our knowledge all of the time, in all of the ways, in a sort of an unlimited sort of way. And when we get to that end of the spectrum, we're happy to have conversations about some sort of equity stake as well, so that it properly aligns us with that business and helping that business to grow, so that we're all in it together. And clearly, we can only do that to a certain number of businesses, and those that we think work well and we can see the future. But I also personally do a lot of published writing, and that's all been my experiences of working with businesses. So there's an awful lot of free advice, anecdotal evidence, comment on my website, and that's everything from how to set up a company, to SEIS, to R&D tax credits, to what lessons have we learned in 2020, and all those other things. So I try to do sort of a lot of a good, I guess, free resource as a basis, but to then prove to people that there's real knowledge out there that they can tap into and help. And there's lots of knowledge everywhere. So they simply need to be finding that. But given our wide experience and our great contacts, including involved investors, we're able to help those businesses in so many ways.
Thank you, Kevin. And hopefully everyone can see that this is exactly where we are aligning ourselves, by being involved investors and being able to work with you and Boom & Partners. We're able to help founders and give them the knowledge and experience to be able to make a success. So if that's you, please just let us know. We will be very happy to introduce you via email, Zoom, or in person to Kevin. Kevin, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Anna. A pleasure, as always.